Welcome to the first round of the Junior 1000 Ecosse Challenge here at Anglesey. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Rona. And we're looking forward to a fantastic 2026 challenge this year. This is our first round of the season.
The Junior 1000 Ecosse Challenge kicked off its 2026 season with a now almost traditional trip to Anglesey Racing Circuit for the Holland Memorial Trophy Junior Stages Rally. 14 Scottish registered crews lined up alongside the English and Welsh crews to do battle over 6 stages in the wet and windy conditions. And taking the early lead, Mackenzie Snowden and Rob Fagg were absolutely flying, fastest on the first 3 stages to lead by 17 seconds. But then disaster, a transmission problem cutting their lead to just 1 after SS4. And even more consistent were the chasing William Patterson and Mark McCulloch, second fastest on every stage. They were just 1 second back after 4 and determined to push for the win. And there was another cracking drive happening in third. Gregor Reid and Simon Mills were right on the pace in the Yellow Me, fastest by 2 seconds in SS4 to lie third. F1000 crew Rebecca Chalice and Max Freeman were flying in the Little Igo, embarrassing a lot of the fancier cars. They were 5 seconds up on Zach Ferber and Ben Wild. Zach and Ben tied for 4th of the Scottish registered crews after a very solid morning. And that tie was with German driver Leon Kaufmann and Richard Stewart, Leon making history by being the first ever internationally licensed driver in Junior 1000 history and absolutely flying, tied for 4th after 4 stages. And 3 seconds further back, Ollie Poole and Richard Simmons were on their second set of rear shock absorbers after a failure on the trailer. Battling a little bit of understeer, they were slowly building pace as the day wore on. James McLaughlin had made his own bit of history on the Saturday, taking an excellent karting win at Silverstone. That meant a late arrival in Wales and a tired and sore driver on the Sunday. James and co-driver Andrew Blackwood making a steady start, lying 7th. Rhys Purvin is a self-professed fan of the wet conditions, so he was loving the weather at Anglesey. Teaming up with Barry Young for this round, they were working on tidying up some of the driving, and it was clearly working well, 6th fastest in stage 4. Thomas Babb and Neil Jeffrey were battling understeer in the morning, but some setup tweaks from Neil and a change of driving style began to produce results as the morning wore on. 12 seconds back from Purvin and Young with 2 stages to go. And another 12 seconds back, Charlie Kelso and Ian McRae survived a big early moment when the C1's ABS failed on the first loop, conveniently on a patch of oil dropped by a senior competitor. They were pushing hard though, 8th quickest in stage 4. 5 seconds down on the C1, Igo Edwards and Karen Tomlinson had spent the morning swapping times with Kelso and McRae, slipping back slightly in the heavier rain of stage 4. And they were 6 seconds up on Gregor Beatson and Ian Bass, the Citigo sporting a new braking system, and Gregor was easing himself in gently, 12th early on. And that left them 8 seconds up on April Blair and Ailey Williamson. April and Ailey on a fight back after they dislodged the front bumper and damaged a shock absorber on the jump in stage 1. Former karter Matthew Clark was making his first Junior 1000 start. With the experienced Helen Hall alongside, Matthew was finding the circuit sections to be no issue, but was quickly having to learn the rallying game on the outer roads, lying 14th after 4 stages.
It was a really good day until the 4th stage, where we had a bit of a gearbox issue, leading us to drop 16 seconds. So we got it sorted just in time, made it to control, and now we're drawing, basically, me and William. So yeah,
we'll see what happens, but just try and not let the pressure bother me. Just drive like I've been driving, and it'll be fine.
My day's going really well so far. I think we're sitting 3rd overall, so we're really enjoying it.
Would that be your best result?
No, we had a second to Jack Frost. So.
Second at Jack Frost.
Aye, but it's one of the best ones, aye.
I'm currently third in the English, fourth Scottish, I believe. That's what I think. But yeah, we're going to push either way. So.
It's very wet. Sometimes it's very dry. I have to get used to it, to the Scottish weather. But in Germany, it's not very different. So yeah, I think I get used to it. It's real fun.
Good. And you have a bit of experience driving, is that correct? Did you do rallycross before?
Yeah, so last year in Germany was my first year in rallycross, in the German rallycross championship. And yeah, it was my first season in the car, yeah.
2 more stages were left to run, and with the wind ramping up, there was still some drama to come. And that drama affected Bab and Jeffrey, 10th overall going into the final stage. Their day was ruined by a puncture, stopping to change the tyre on the final test and dropping to 14th by the finish. The progression in pace continued for Clark and Hall, wrapping up the day with their best stage time on the way to a solid 13th on Matthew's first Junior 1000 event. Gregor Beatson continued to adapt to the car's new braking system, very happy to have brought the car home with no damage done. The red Citigo was just 7 seconds down on the pink car of Blair and Williamson. On the fight back, despite some issues with traffic, they climbed back up from 13th to 11th by the finish. That left them only 3 seconds down on Edwards and Tomlinson, another crew to produce their best stage time on the final test of the day, after a very consistent event. Kelso and McRae rounded out their event with 2 9th fastest times, despite discovering some strange things with the car's setup. 9th from a seeding of 16th, underlying their undoubted pace. A spin and an argument with a pole spoiled the job for McLaughlin and Blackwood, James nursing the car and a sore shoulder to 8th at the finish, just 1 second away from Purvin and Young. The good work continuing for Rees and Barry, grabbing an excellent 7th at the end of a very strong drive. And speaking of strong drives, what a first event for Leon Kaufman and Richard Stewart, top newcomer and 6th in the J1000 standings, marking themselves out as a real crew to watch this season. That left them only 3 seconds down on Poole and Simmons. Richard saying they weren't as sharp as they had been at the first F1000 round, but they still managed a solid 5th overall, despite their suspension dramas. They were still only 3 seconds away from 4th. Chalice and Freeman's excellent run came to naught with a driveshaft failure, leaving Ferber and Wilde to grab a very strong 4th overall. They underlined their pace, with 3rd quickest in stage 5. Much like last year's McRae, Reid and Mills produced the most smooth and undramatic drive of the whole event. Another excellent podium, setting their stall out as real contenders in 2026. But that left the top 2. Patterson and McCulloch were flying fastest in stage 5 to tie for the lead with 1 remaining. And how hard were they pushing? This big slide in 6 told the story, the blue car having to settle for 2nd after an excellent bid for the victory. But Snowden and Fagg pulled out all the stops over the final test to be fastest by 12 seconds, giving Mackenzie his 2nd Anglesey win on the bounce and cementing him as the Junior 1000 Circuit Meister for 2026. What a battle at the top for the first round of the season. So Snowdon and Fag take first blood in 2026 and the J1000 crews retained the Tunnocks Trophy. Up next, the challenge heads to Kames in May.
Do you see me stand?